Hello, 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 and welcome to 52 Weeks of Flow, the podcast that delves into the depth of human potential and the transformative power of flow. On this show, we talk about peak performance, flow, energy, and bridge the gap between science and woo-woo. Through authentic stories and real-life examples, my guests and I will help you dive into your superpowers and create your next level of success. My name is Bea-Marie, neuroscience geek, flow enthusiast, and your guide to rewilding yourself. I'm on a mission to raise the frequency of the planet by supporting you to untame yourself and step into your flow. Hello, my beautiful flow lovers, to another empowering episode of 52 Weeks of Flow. You see me the first time with my new hair. Well, if you're listening right now, then you don't see me. But if you're watching the YouTube video, then you will see me with my new hairdo. That is completely not interesting for this conversation that I'm going to have with the powerful Laura Aura, because she has a really interesting sense of humor. She swears a lot, and she is very direct about how you can change your life and how to overcome your junk mind. And who can introduce herself better than Laura herself? So welcome back to the stage, Laura.
Hello. Nice to see
Hello.
you.
So nice to see you too. So I gave a little tiny snippet of what you do and who you are. But I would love for you to tell everybody what your zone of genius is and why you are making this world a better place.
So I am Laura Aura. I am a speaker and I'm a coach, and I'm really, really passionate about helping people to get super clear on what they actually want and shift the mind junk so that they can go get it. I tell you what, the thing that keeps me up at night the most is watching people settle for things in life, settle for jobs they don't love, settle for parts of their businesses they don't love, settle for people that mistreat them, just doing things and getting by. I tell you what, that fucking drives me nuts. And I just cannot. And for those that are hungry and wanting to make a shift, but just don't have the right support or tools or encouragement or, steps on how do I make this change, then my friend, we're in the right place. I'm that gal for you.
I love that. I love that so much. So that keeps you up all night. But what got you started? Because we all start at some point.
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. I started my entrepreneurial journey as a graphic designer. So my background is in design. I've been in branding for over 20 years now at this point. My first business was in branding. I ran an agency and worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. And I just found myself really pulled towards the side conversations with the people that I was working with. And we weren't talking about the brand or the business. We were talking about the things that were happening in their own head, the things that made them really excited, that they didn't feel like they could share with other people because they wouldn't get it, the things that were keeping them up at night, the fears, the worries, the overthinking that they were experiencing. And I just found like super pulled into those conversations and helping people through them. Like what's the next thing that you could do to help start to shift some of this stuff? And I found that, like, I don't know, there's just this whole world that when we start talking about all the things that we're all thinking and feeling, people really start to open up and they feel seen, they feel heard, and there's encouragement and empowerment in that space. So I started to interview these people officially. At the time, it was called the Green Couch Project. It is now called the Gutsy Podcast. And we would just have these really raw conversations around these gutsy moves that they were making and how they overcame obstacles and, their life stories and their business stories. And, I launched the podcast because I wanted to expand that further. And then I found myself at a crossroads. I'm like, I had been speaking for quite some time alongside branding. And I found that like I keep bumping into I don't have enough time, money, or energy to devote to both of these things. So what do I actually want in this next season of life? And
Mm.
it just was so, so clear that I am a speaker. I am a coach. I help people, and my calling in this world is to do those things. So I just sold my agency in this past December, less than a year ago, and now I'm full time in this whole new chapter of my life. And I gotta tell you, it's new and exciting and exhilarating and calm. So
Mm.
calm. You want to talk about flow? Holy bananas, Batman! Like the flow that I'm experiencing, being able to focus on what I want to do, focus my message, focus on who I want to work with instead of being so divided has been an absolute game changer for me.
Mm. Yes. Yes. When you finally step into your purpose work and let go of this breadwinning job, it's like, it's really exhilarating. So I celebrate you. I celebrate you for selling your agency. I celebrate you for, you know, discovering your purpose and then having the guts to actually go for it. Because, this is your topic, the mind junk. And most of the time, the mind junk keeps us stuck in our 9 to 5 job, in our corporate life, in our breadwinning jobs, in the jobs that we do because it is realistic to stay in it. Because there are so many things that we have to pay off or do this or do that. And a regular income is so important. But what if a regular income can also look like fun and excitement and joy and, more money than you would earn with your actual job? So when people come to you, when they say, oh, money problems keep me up at night, or I wish I was an artist, but artist, is a starving, it's a starving art, being an artist. So how can I get over that? Like, what do you do? What's the magic?
Well, I mean, it's so multifaceted, right? Like a lot of what stops us are the beliefs and the conditioning that we have absorbed or created throughout our lifetime. And so even the phrase starving artist is an external expectation that we have absorbed.
Yeah.
Who says that you have to be broke to do art? Who says that, right? Like, is that true for some people? Sure. Is it true for all people? No. And I think that's the same in any and every situation. So I I would first encourage everyone listening to like watch your words.
Mm.
Because if you keep repeating, I can't do this because I don't have enough money, that's what's going to be returned to you. That's the proof that you're going to see. Those are the things that you're going to subconsciously look for and see like, see, this is why I can't do that. See, this is why I can't do that. And you're basically reinforcing those negative thoughts or what you've just been conditioned to believe, right?
Yeah.
So watch your words, my friends, because that's what you're telling the world and the universe what's important to you. And you're training your brain. Like you are all whatever you're thinking and saying, you are training your brain to do. So class is always in session. Be careful what you're learning.
I love that. I love that. What were the sentences? What were your beliefs that you were telling yourself over and over?
Oh my gosh. How many hours do we have here together? Some big ones. I mean, some of the roots that I've been working with for quite some time that I grew up with is one around money. Money is the root of all evil. It leaves just as quickly as it comes in. Um, you think you're better than everybody else if you have too much money. Nothing good comes out of money, right? I mean, I could go on for days about money. And then also, I one of my roots is abandonment. So I've had to really work on undoing this expectation that I have to expend myself to keep people,
Mm.
that I have to please everyone to keep people. I realize that the right people always stay. And if they gotta go, they gotta go. And that's okay. But that's taken decades of healing work to be able to be okay with that. So just watching, I think it's important to understand and remember that these things don't go away. It's about being better equipped so that it doesn't get you down for as long and for as hard, right? So am I have no issues with abandonment? No, it still perks up from time to time. It just doesn't get me down for days or weeks or months at a time anymore. So it's really just about being better equipped to handle those things when they do come up. Because when they've been in there for a long, long time, they've been in there for a long, long time, right? So it doesn't just go away. But you can overcome the heaviness of it or the how much you have to focus on it, how much you have to work with it. It eventually starts to kind of simmer down.
Yeah. Oh God, tell me about it. And here my scientific brain kicks in and is like, yeah, it's the neural pathways that we have been driving for years and years and years, and they're so deep and they're so, like they're so this pathway is so much driven that it's so installed in us that it's deep down in our subconscious. So to really get away from that every time we feel like, oh, I'm abandoned, or I don't have money, I can't do that, we need to rephrase it right away to build a new neural pathway to really create this new life that we actually want, instead of the can't lose abandonment. So I really love that. So how did you for yourself, realizing or seeing or being aware of those beliefs is one thing, but how did you shift? Like, how did you embody a new mindset, a new strategy, a new way of thinking, a new way of life?
Yeah. So I unintentionally created a process that I'd be happy to share with you if you're open to it.
Yes.
I say unintentionally because I'm just a very like inquisitive person. I like to like dissect things a little bit after I'm like, oh, this is working. Why? I just want to understand more. Right. So after after I sold my agency, well, before then, but after I've made a lot of big gutsy shifts in my life. Right. And a lot of times people are like, you're just continuously reinventing yourself. Like, what are you doing? And so I thought, I'm like, okay, what do I do? Right? How can I break this down? Is this something that's teachable? Turns out it is. So it's called the power back process, and
Mhm.
it's an acronym, aura, AURA, which is intended to help you get back into your own energy, right? This is a process that you can implement when your brain starts getting little spirally, starts doing that thing, where you start getting you're overthinking or you're worrying or you're complicating things. This is a process that you can use to interrupt that typical path to get to something that you actually want instead. So the first letter is A, which is awareness. Yeah, we
Mhm.
have to notice. Awareness is nothing more than noticing. So noticing, what am I doing right now? What am I saying to myself? Oh, there I start saying those nasty things to myself again. Oh, I'm starting to multitask again. Oh, I'm starting to feel that tightness in my chest, right? I want you to start to notice your thoughts, your actions, and your body. If you can catch that, you can change anything. It's when we ignore those parts of ourselves that we stay in that spiral. So, first, notice yourself. The second step is you, which is to unpack it. Now, unpacking it can be as much or as little as you want it to be. We don't have to go through every situation you've ever been through in your life, or you can, depending on where you are in your journey. But the reality with unpacking is about getting curious. See, what we're doing is we're starting to diffuse what felt big and odd and scary and unknown. And we want to just start to soften it. And curiosity is one of the best ways to combat fear. And it
Yeah.
might look like, oh, I'm noticing this feeling in my chest again. I wonder where that came from. Oh, did I just experience something with somebody that I was talking to? Like maybe I picked up on something. You're just literally being curious. I like to look at this phase as like talking to your inner child. If you think about how you would talk to a kiddo if they were having a big emotion, my hope is that we would not be yelling at them and telling them that's wrong and we can't do that. I mean, I know many of us have been in that situation, myself included. So, how would we want to talk to a child? We want to get on their level. We want to hear them. Oh, tell me about what's going on. Oh, what are you feeling right now? See, it's a very soft, curious phase. So we start to diffuse it and we start to make sense of it. We're also activating our conscious mind, which we don't operate very much out of, as you know. We want to activate that, and we're starting to do that. So now we can go into R, which is to reframe it. This is where we get to decide something different, right? This is where you get to acknowledge yourself, what's true, what's possible, what can I do instead? Right? We're literally starting to redirect and reframe it into something new and different. And I like to look at this as tapping into your higher self, right? What is your higher self, your inner knowing, your intuition, that like silent voice inside you that you only you know. What is she saying? Cuz she knows the way. And again, we're furthering like diffusing this big feeling down. And then the last piece is to take aligned action. This is where you're choosing to do something different instead. So the path that you would typically go down, instead, going through this process, we're literally redirecting, and now you're choosing to do something different instead. And this is something that's healthier for you. This is something that you want to do. This is taking an action towards something that you're working towards instead of, resisting it, right? You're actually moving this time instead of staying in that spiral. So I have used this no less than a billion times myself, and I've taught it just as many times, and I'm telling you, you have to use it. Okay, this is if you put it on the shelf, it's not going to do anything for you. But if you use this, and you can do this standing in the grocery line, driving in your car, in a meeting on Zoom, like wherever you need to be, like you can use this process, and it's silent, and you can do it quickly. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I'm telling you, it's all about catching it and redirecting it, catching it and redirecting it. And when you do that over and over and over again, you start to create new habits that get you to the thing that you want instead.
So good. So good. So how quickly is that for you now, since you've done it so many times?
Oh, I mean, I've done it probably 3 times today already in less than a minute. It really, something I want everyone to know, like it can be easy. It can be easy. We are pushed and shoved with this belief that everything has to be hard. And don't get me wrong, there are hard moments. I have them too. But this ongoing like retraining of self, it gets to be easy if you let it be. So this process, at first it might take you 10 minutes. If you want to journal with it, great. If you don't, fine. Like let it be what you want it to be. I'm giving you the blueprint. You decorate the house. Okay. So it might take you a couple of minutes. It might take you a couple of seconds. Let's let go of the outcome, right? Let's let go of the expectation of what it has to be and just do it. Try it, experiment with it. But I'm at the point now where I can do it in a couple of seconds and be back on my way.
I love that. I give you the blueprint and you decorate the house. That's really, really
There you
cool.
go.
That's so cool. Okay. Because the other day, like while you were talking, a situation came up where like, oh yeah, I could have redirected in that moment. It's a really simple thing, I was standing in front of the fridge and I was hungry. Like I was really hungry. I was not craving anything. I was hungry. And I saw a pear, I saw broccoli, I saw noodles from the day before, and I saw chocolate. And like everything in me was saying, hey, take the broccoli and make the noodles, and it only takes 5 minutes. Put it in a pan. And I was like, yeah, I'm taking the chocolate. Even though I knew it will not satisfy my hunger and the sugar will be gone instantly and I will regret it after I had eaten the whole pack.
Yeah.
So what if those those pathways or those habits, those structures are so strong that you know that the other way is better, but you still choose the one that takes you down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So common, by the way. So common. It's why a lot of people are kind of they're in the same spiral, right? Like a lot of people that come into my world, they're like, Laura, I know better.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't. So what's going on? That's what you're asking here. So we got to interrupt it. Okay. Two things I want to say here. First, you got to get clear on what you want or need.
Mm.
So in that moment, for instance, I'll just use this, and it's
Yeah.
not right or wrong that you chose the chocolate, right? Like maybe that's what you needed in that moment, but I'll just use your story as an example. In that moment, when you're like you're looking at all the stuff and you see the chocolate and you're like, I'm going in, right? Like eagle eye, I'm going in. If you just pause for a second and say, what does my body really need in this moment? What's going to help nourish and help me feel better? Damn it, I know I'd really like to have the chocolate, but those noodles and the broccoli is probably going to have a little bit more standing power. So you're stopping and you're interrupting it right before you go, like it's literally a microsecond right before you go in to grab. What do I actually need?
Hmm.
And ask your like say it out loud. I want everyone listening. I want you to start getting comfortable feeling weird. Okay? I want you to start talking to yourself out loud, not just in your head, because when you're trying to rationalize with yourself in your brain, you're like playing solitaire, right? Like you're not getting very far very quickly. So when you interrupt it and you ask yourself a question out loud, gosh, you give yourself so much more power and ability to make a different decision. And in that moment, you might say, you know what? The noodles and the broccoli is really going to help sustain me, but I still really want that chocolate. Cool. Let me take a bite of the chocolate while I'm heating up the noodles. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be either or. You can still support yourself in a lot of different ways, but now you've satisfied yourself in two different ways. And I think that that's kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah. That sounds really, really clever. That sounds really, really clever. I'm not going to put myself on a guilt trip right now that I didn't do that.
No,
Um,
it's all
because I
about
really enjoyed the chocolate.
good. I mean, absolutely. Listen, my mother-in-law makes this amazing apple crisp and she makes it gluten-free and dairy-free for me because my stomach is like screw all of the food. Um, and the other day it was pre-period.
Mm.
So my hormones were like, I don't typically crave sugar. Okay. That's just, I would rather do salt. But man, I just I went upstairs and I was like, I need that fucking apple crisp right now. Like she had made us a pan of it. I'm so glad my husband wasn't home. I mean, I wouldn't care if he was, but I was standing at the counter, like shoveling this stuff in my mouth. Like I could not get it in there fast enough. And at the end, I was like, okay, I got that out of my system. I feel better. I'm going to go back to recording and everything's going to keep going forward. Right. Like, I don't know. I think that sometimes we get caught in like, oh, if we have something sweet or we have something indulgent that it's wrong or bad. Like sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I think you need to eat a whole chocolate, whatever that you ate. I think it's okay.
Yeah. I love that. I love that perspective. And I also love that you are encouraging everybody to talk to ourselves out loud. I
Yeah.
mean, my family is completely used to me talking to myself all the time. So if I would speak out every dialogue that I'm having with myself, whoa. I mean, my daughter is doing that. So, and this is like if I was also running around like this, and then we would interact, and then we would go our separate ways and talk to ourselves again. This would be a really, really loud house.
There would be like a constant radio show going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a friend of ours, she told us that we should have like a camera, on 24/7 just to record us as a family because we do crazy stuff. I was like, every family has that. Every family does crazy stuff. And she was
Oh,
just like,
absolutely.
She's like, no, no, you guys do this crazy, like inspiring stuff, where you just do things. And after, when you watch from the outside, you're like, wow. And then you think, that's weird, but wow. So, okay, but let's come back to the mind junk. Let's come back to redirecting. Because like this, it's a really simple story, choosing the healthy food or the non-healthy food. But what about all of those things when you're caught in that spiral of I'm not good enough. Like everything that I'm putting out there is not working. Nobody's buying from me. Like every offer that I put out there, it's really good. People who run through the program or do this or do that, who I coach or who I heal or whoever, they love it. They get so much out of it, but I'm not selling. Like nobody's coming to me.
Yeah. Well, I know that feeling all too well. So I can personally relate to that. And I can acknowledge that that's a tough position to be in. It doesn't feel good, especially if you've poured a lot of your heart into it, or you've poured
Mm.
a lot of time into it, your finances into it, right? It sucks. So let's just call it for what it is. And it's not permanent. So there's a couple of things to reconsider in this situation. First, maybe we need a break. And I know that when things aren't quote unquote working, taking a break feels like the absolute last thing in the world to do, because you're like, oh, I got to get in there, and oh, I got to fix it. Oh, I got to tinker it. And that's the exact energy that I want you to stop doing for a second, because
Mm.
our like survival techniques kick in, and we want to fix it, and we want to grow it, and we want to push it, and we want to like reach out, and we're doing all this stuff, and it's a very reactive energy. And guess what it's doing? It's just like pushing everything away, like, nah, no thank you, like trying to put the two positive or negative sides of the magnet together, and it's just like consistently pushing it away. That's what's happening in this situation. So if you've been feeling like this for a while, just give yourself a minute. I'm not saying you have to take like a month-long sabbatical or anything, but could you just take an afternoon and like step away from everything for a minute? Like, don't get on social, don't get on your website, don't do the things, don't create another offer. Like, what if you just took a couple hours or a day and just didn't do any of it? And in that time, instead, you connected with yourself again. How do you connect? Is it going outside? Is it being with friends that you love? Is it going to a space in nature that you like? Is it sitting in your room watching movies all day? Like, it doesn't, like, it gets to be whatever you want it to be. But how do you connect? When's the last time you've connected? And that alone, that soft break can often like re-energize your head. It can fuel back into you, and you have to be intentional about it, right? You gotta coach yourself through this, right? You have to talk yourself through this and be like, it's okay to take a break. Things are going to work out, but I just need to step back from it for a second. I need to stop trying to force and shove it to happen, when what I really need to do is let go for a second. It's control. I got to let go and control. And that is super uncomfy for basically everybody. So, that's the first thing that I would recommend is giving yourself a chance to take a break. And then when you come back from that, then just do like a quick evaluation. Am I really doing everything that I can? Or have I been saying that I'm doing a lot of things when I'm actually just doing a bunch of busy work, right? That's a yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. But am I actually doing everything that I can? Am I trying to do too many things? Am I trying to be too many things to too many different people? Is my message clear? How long have I been doing this? Have I had an offer out for 6 days and I'm expecting to make 100 grand? Like, sometimes we have to be realistic. Is that possible? Sure, but it's not usually the case. Sometimes you have to give things time. So just coming back in with some fresh eyes and just evaluating things and seeing where things are landing, and choosing a spot to refocus back in on, and getting back in it, getting back in the work, and connecting to your higher purpose and your why, serving, guiding, helping, supporting, whatever that is for you. Like, connect back into that, because when we get down in the trenches of things, gosh, it just takes our energy and just like pulls it down in real tight to our bodies. Where what we really want to do is be able to expand that aura out, expand that energy out so that we can attract those right clients.
Mm. How?
How? Tell how what?
Yeah, how what? Like how, first of all, if you've never connected to yourself, how do you connect to yourself? If you don't know, if you've never consciously done that. And second of all, how do you expand your energy to how do you do it? Or what is your, what is your magic to do that to attract clients?
Sure. So, how to connect with yourself? Great question. If you've never done this before, or you're just maybe in a new phase of life, what brings you just like an immense amount of joy? And I'm talking outside of work. Okay. I know that there's parts of your work that you love, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't really go away. But outside of work, what just like, oh, if you could just do that every day or once a week, you would just be over the moon excited. For me, it's I mean, it's a lot of different things, but one of the things for me is being outside. And it's so simple, but I forget and I work at home and I can go days and not go outside. And then I'm like, oh shit, like I've been cooped up in the house. It's no wonder I'm a little bit cranky and sideways right now. I One of the ways I connect is being outside. So I started taking a walk every day. It's very simple. It supports my body, it supports my mind. I get outside and it helps me get rid of the energy from the day. It's actually kind of brilliant. I fought it for a long time, but notice like what just makes you feel good? What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel calm? What makes you feel connected or creative? Like whatever that is for you, that is your thing. And it might be walking, it might be meditating, it might be coloring in your coloring book. It might be learning new recipes. It might be calling a friend a couple of times a week and just getting lost in the conversation, right? Like it doesn't have to be anything perfect or spectacular. It just needs to be meaningful to you, that your connection gets to be what it is for you. Does that answer that question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then your second question, remind me, how do I do something
How
like
do
this?
you expand your energy to attract the perfect clients?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with connecting with yourself. Because for me, I know when I get too down in the trenches of work, meaning I've just been in it too long, I've lost sight of why I'm doing it. I've lost sight of the bigger picture, what I'm working towards, what it means to me. When I'm like down in the nitty gritty, my energy really pulls in, and I just have a very natural, big, like pulsating type of energy. And when I'm in too tight, like it doesn't feel good, right? So that connection with self immediately starts to open it back up because you're opening yourself back up to your purpose, why you're doing this in the first place. What's exciting about this? What is it going to bring to you or your family or your clients that you're working with? Like, what is the impact that you're making with this? We got to connect with the bigger picture, not just the micro moment. And if you've been in too many micro moments, it's going to dim your light pretty quickly. I mean, at least for me, it just sucks the soul out of my butt, right? Like it doesn't feel great. So taking that break and getting out of yourself for a minute allows you to like open back up to that why. And when you do that, you just naturally start to feel it. And then something super cool to do, and again, very simple that you can do, you don't have to go anywhere or buy anything, is embody, like feel it already done. Picture yourself in it. What's it look and feel like to have achieved what you want to do? To be working with who you want to work with, to be offering what you want to offer, right? Without getting all the nitty-gritty, like how am I going to do it? So it's like really tap into the bigness of what that feels like. And when you do that, you just start to like pulsate in such a cool way because you're familiarizing your body and your mind with what it feels like to already have that thing. So that's one of my favorite techniques.
And that is the perfect note to end on. But I have one more question before we part, and that is, if you have one more thing that you could share with the world, what would that be?
I would tell you that little, what might seem like insignificant shifts are the things that actually change for you. It's the small micro moments, the little going left instead of right, the yes instead of no, or no instead of yes, right? Like those, just the little redirections that you do throughout the day. They might seem so insignificant, but I'm telling you, those are the things that add up to the bigger change that you're looking for. So if you're on a path and you're not where you want to be yet, keyword yet, I want you to acknowledge and understand that all those little decisions that you're making that's going towards that thing, it's working. And I want you to keep going.
Goosebumps. Goosebumps all over my body. So, Laura, please tell everybody where they can find you. All of the links will also be in the show notes. But if you're driving right now and you just need to hear it to then, type it in, please tell the audience where they can find
Yes. LauraOra.com is the hub for all things me. You can find links to the Gutsy podcast, which is my weekly show, on my website, and also links to my social media links. But in case you want a quick go, I am at that Laura Ora on all the platforms, and I play the most on TikTok and Facebook.
Nice. Nice. All right. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your golden nuggets and your light with our audience here and with the world.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And that's it. That's it for today. That's our show. I'm giving you a virtual high five right now because you have been with us. You are part of the Flow family, and you have probably taken notes or pulled out so much gold that Laura shared today. And if you want me to bring more amazing guests like Laura, I know we're almost at the end of season 2, but we still have a couple of spots left. So if you know somebody who would be amazing, then send me an email, bea@superwoman.coach, and recommend that person to me. And if you want to check out more about what we do at Moving River, then come to Instagram at moving_river, or check out Facebook or LinkedIn, where I'm also present. So that was an amazing show. I need to really, really hone a lot of that in. That was a beautiful message that Laura was sharing. Click the links below, give Laura some love, and until next time, keep shining, keep learning, keep growing, and keep flowing.